Welcome to episode 188 of the Sisters in Loss podcast. Have you considered donor eggs for your fertility journey? Many couples have had to turn to using donor eggs after spending years of going through fertility treatments, and many use Fairfax Eggbank to continue on their journey to parenthood. Fairfax Eggbank is a leader in advanced techniques for frozen donor eggs. Their premier donor database showcases our diverse selection of highly screened and vetted egg donors with detailed profiles on all of the donors so intended parents can really get to know their prospective donors. Today's guest is Teri Reaves, the Director of Client Relations for Fairfax Eggbank. In this role, she is responsible for the oversight, strategy, and development of the client relations team, which works directly with intended parents and the company's 300 plus IVF clinic partners. Today, we've partnered with Fairfax Eggbank to talk all about egg donors, freezing eggs, frozen eggs versus fresh eggs, and all of the details around preserving fertility when it comes to donor eggs and using Fairfax Eggbank with your own personal fertility clinic. So here is Teri Reaves. Well, welcome, Teri, to the podcast.
Thank you.
I would love for you to begin by sharing a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Sure. So again, my name is Teri Reaves. As of this morning, I am the Director of Strategic Business Development at Fairfax Eggbank. Prior to this role, I was the Director of Client Relations and oversaw the team that interfaced directly with intended parents that are seeking to build their family through the utilization of frozen donor eggs. Fairfax Eggbank is a leading egg bank in the United States. We currently partner with more than 300 IVF clinics in the United States, Canada, Mexico, Brazil, the Caribbean, and also Australia, again, to assist intended parents with building their family through the utilization of frozen donor egg. On a personal note, I am from Northern Virginia. I grew up in Vienna, Virginia. I'm a graduate of the University of Virginia with a bachelor's in music, surprisingly enough. My first love was music. And I attended Howard University College of Medicine before having a bit of a change of heart and deciding that becoming a physician was not my path, and spent several years in healthcare sales and marketing before landing here at Fairfax Eggbank. So super excited about the opportunity to have this conversation with you, Erica.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And yes, I love it. I also am from Virginia. I grew up in the Hampton Roads area. Just recently moved to McLean. So I'm very close during the summer of last year. So I'm so happy that you all are really talking about this topic that I'm very passionate about. As you know, Sisters in Law, we really focus on Black women and women of color and talking all about our maternal and infant health, but really specifically around just reproductive health and justice and how that plays a role in how we see ourselves, how we show up in those places to get things, done for us as far as our treatments that we get done, our annual appointments, and then for a particular part of the community, we really focus on loss and infertility, where we really share those stories openly and find some healing. But a part of that is really the practical side, hearing people's stories and hearing how people have gone through their loss and healing. But then at some point they may want to try again, and then they may meet another roadblock. For many couples, their roadblock may be actually using their own eggs to really move forward with the process of any other fertility treatment to create embryos and then actually have babies. So I really would love to talk about just what are some of those stigmas that may be within the Black community, within people of color, when it comes to moving forward with, donor eggs versus freezing eggs, or just the differences in the two. And if you could talk to that for us.
Sure, absolutely. You're absolutely right. Stigmas, there are barriers that are just sadly inherent to the Black community. And how we overcome those really is, having these types of dialogues, being open and transparent about journeys that each of us may have had or know someone who's had, and being those strong advocates for our care when the time comes to seek, additional resources and additional treatment. Some of the stigmas, I think, around the utilization of donor gametes, whether it be donor egg or donor sperm, really are probably the same type of stigmas that come around just seeking infertility treatment in general, right? In general, you think about infertility as something is wrong with me, something that should be so natural as conceiving and giving birth to a baby is a struggle for me. And for some, coming to that realization is a very difficult one. What's wrong with me? And for women in particular, when it is determined that the challenges facing, natural conception and being able to conceive children and have a successful live birth are on the part of your genetic material, your gametes, your eggs, that is very difficult. Because again, this is something that should come natural, right? And so, first is seeking out the right individuals and the right healthcare providers to have that conversation. I'm sure you've talked to several OBGYNs and probably some reproductive endocrinologists along the way. And from an OBGYN perspective, it's, how long have you been trying and unsuccessful? So you're looking at people who may have tried 6 to 12 months on their own to conceive without success. And then they move to an IVF clinic and they're worked up by a reproductive endocrinologist. And that reproductive endocrinologist then tries various mechanisms to have this patient conceive. And then that is unsuccessful. And then the next thing that they hear is, in order to have a successful pregnancy, you might need to seek donor egg or donor sperm. And so by the time individuals have reached the point of interacting with Fairfax Eggbank and reaching out to Fairfax Eggbank, it could have been years of this challenge. And not only just the emotional toll, but the financial toll that comes with that. And, couple that with the fact that now you've come to terms with the fact that you're going to utilize frozen or even fresh donor egg for that matter, is finding that ideal donor. And, much like, other areas of medicine, I spent many years, about 5 to 6 years in the world of organ, eye, and tissue donation and transplantation. The same held true, that we may be in need of these types of services, but we are on the other end of the coin or the other side of the coin, reluctant to give. And so for a variety of reasons, it is a challenge to find African-American women, young women who are willing to donate their eggs altruistically so that individuals can conceive. So there's a variety of things that then start coming into play. You've got the emotional aspect of it, you've got the financial aspect of it, and then you have the access point. Are you finding the right IVF clinic for you that's going to allow you to seek this opportunity? And then the end point is, are you going to find an ideal donor that meets and matches some of the characteristics that are important to you as you then, seek this to conceive your child.
Yes, and that is a huge factor in the folks that I've interviewed, is really around finding the right provider that's going to listen to them, that they can trust. And then the next barrier is the cost, especially if they've already are going through for certain states, in certain parts of Virginia, depending on insurance that you have, and other states around the U.S., fertility treatment it may not be covered from private insurance. So
That's right.
You already are paying an additional fee or copay just to even see the doctor, which is probably outside of your norm. And then as you start to get a lot of the blood, all of the blood draws and all the other hormonal workups that they may do, that's additional fees on top of, making the decision to go one way or the other when it comes to medication and trying some other things before going the other route from alternative reproductive treatment. So I
Yeah.
really would love for you to kind of break down the cost. So on one side, you mentioned there aren't a lot of young African American women that are actually going out and donating eggs. Is there a
Mhm.
cost for, someone who wanted to actually go and donate their eggs? And then on the other side, what is the cost for a couple, a single person who wanted to have, purchase donor eggs for them to use?
Two very good questions. So from the donor aspect, obviously there may be some costs that are incurred to the donor as she is worked up through the process. Donors that work through Fairfax Eggbank's program are compensated for their medical expenses as they enter into the program and in order to retrieve eggs for the Fairfax Egg Bank. So they are compensated for that effort and for doing so for those retrievals. On the intended parent side, there are many factors. Obviously, the cost of the eggs. We sell donor eggs in what we call cohort, and a cohort of donor eggs for Fairfax Egg Bank is anywhere between 6 to 8 mature eggs. Most typically, a cohort is 6 eggs. And, I don't want to get into the specifics of how much a cohort of eggs costs simply because we have varying relationships with clinics throughout the country. And so I don't want to, share a price that may or may not be what is actually on the end, depending on the relationship with the clinic. But you're looking at, somewhere around the $16,000 range for a cohort of eggs from Fairfax Egg Bank. And that is about what you will see from all of the major egg banks throughout the United States. Some of them have varying degrees and varying service programs that may cost a little bit more. And then you add on to that price the clinic's laboratory fees, so medication costs for the recipient, laboratory fees for the embryology. The eggs are fertilized through a very specific manner in the lab and then cultured out to the embryo stage for transfer. So then you have the transfer fees. So, it can be a very costly adventure, and it is not unheard of for intended parents that we work with to have shared with the client relations team that, prior to getting to this point, they have spent upwards of $60,000 to $70,000 already on this journey. So it can be a very expensive venture for people.
Absolutely. And I thank you for at least giving a ballpark range so people can understand on one side, some with Fairfax Egg Bank, they do compensate for those who do donate eggs. But the other side, if you're buying a cohort, depending on where you are located in the U.S., it is a 5-figure number typically
Yes.
that you would be spending to get these intended donor eggs to use your own fertility clinic and with your fertility specialist to move forward with a reproductive treatment like an IUI and an IVF cycle. So thank you for explaining that. I would really love for you to really talk about how, so, for those people who are listening may not really understand how to really fit and choose the best path for them when it comes to moving forward with their journey to parenthood. And a part of that is really understanding, how to choose the right clinic when it comes to donor eggs. How common is it? Or it's probably not as common to find donor eggs that are for someone who may be, have a smaller fertility clinic in their area and they could utilize the services of Fairfax Egg Bank to help bridge that gap to get a donor egg that looks like them, if that makes sense.
Right. No, that makes perfect sense. So there are, hundreds of IVF clinics throughout the United States, and each of them have their own programs and their own areas of focus. And Fairfax Egg Bank, we are what we call an open access egg bank, meaning that there's a clinical aspect of it. So we have a clinic agreement and we also work with the IVF clinic's lab to ensure that they understand our protocols for handling the donor egg. So there's really not much in the way of intended parents that they have to worry about that piece of the puzzle. But in choosing the right clinic for you, it is really just about choosing, someone who, and a provider and a clinic staff how you would select any of your care providers, finding someone that matches, your personality, your desires, who you feel comfortable with. And then I also encourage individuals, as they're looking at IVF clinics, look at their success rates. Many IVF clinics will have their success rates posted and listed on their website. If they do not, many clinics are part of what we call SART, which is the Society for Assisted Reproductive Technology. And that is an open website, and individuals can go on that website and search for their clinic and just look at their success rates, not only just their overall success rates with IVF, but look at their success rates utilizing donor eggs. So that information is public information for those clinics that participate and are affiliated with SART. And so you're looking for clinics that have experience utilizing donor egg, whether it's fresh donor eggs or frozen donor eggs. And then once you have, found that clinic that you feel comfortable with, it is not a Fairfax Eggbank's determination as to whether or not you are medically suitable to utilize frozen donor eggs. That is solely on the reproductive endocrinologist. And so once intended parents reach Fairfax Eggbank, 75, 85, maybe even upwards of 90% of individuals have already been worked up by an IVF and an REI provider and have already been given, the green light to seek a donor. So that's when, when Fairfax Eggbank comes into play. On occasion, we have individuals that will reach out to Fairfax Eggbank and they have not yet sought out the medical treatment of an IVF fertility clinic or of an REI. And so we will not be able to work with them without knowing that they have been deemed a suitable candidate for donor eggs. And then, working with Fairfax Eggbank is very easy in many regards. We have a website, and on our website, we have a donor profile. And so individuals can register on our website, and registration is free on our website. After the signing of a statement, you then will be granted full access to our donor profiles, which include childhood photos and adult photos, as well as background information about the donor's medical history, her family medical history, her genetic testing summary, her likes or dislikes. Many of our donors have audio interviews. Some of them have essay interviews and so forth. So you can really start to build a personality and a connection with these donors through our website. And they're filterable options. So you can filter donors on their hair color, their eye color, their education, their race, their ethnicity, and all of these things to hopefully find that ideal donor. And then beyond that, the client relations team, we hope to always be an extension of an IVF clinic's care team, in that the client relations team can assist intended parents with finding that ideal donor. What characteristics are important to you? Is it most important that you find a donor that has brown hair, let's say? Or is it extremely important that you find a donor that's taller than 5'7", because every member of your family is very tall? Those are the types of things that the client relations team at Fairfax Eggbank can assist intended parents with, again, to find that ideal donor.
For those who do have insurance, can insurance cover the cost of donor eggs?
That is a great question. So Fairfax Eggbank, we do not accept insurance because we are not providing a medical service. However, we do provide letters of support for intended parents to go along with their claims to their insurance companies. We've seen intended parents utilize funds through FSA and through other, employer benefit programs. And we absolutely can provide a letter of support for that type of reimbursement, in addition to, an invoice stating, the amount that an intended parent has paid Fairfax Eggbank directly.
Awesome. And I think that goes for anything else too when it comes to fertility related, is that sometimes you do have to get letters of intention from a lot of different places. I'm happy that you all do provide that, and that could be of a service for certain companies that do cover some fertility portions of insurance, like Starbucks. A lot of people don't know Starbucks covers 100%, but a part of that is there is some gray areas, especially around donor eggs. But I'm happy that you all do offer that so that people could use Starbucks insurance as a part-time worker. That's a caveat for people who are looking to do fertility treatments, is you could work there part-time, 20 hours a week, and Starbucks will pay for your fertility treatment.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. I think as we, not just African American women or couples, or it's just in general, as we continue to break down the barriers and the stigmas around infertility treatment, whatever that may be, that is going to open the door to, more legislation and more coverage and more conversations with insurance companies and providers, and like I said, legislation around the diagnosis of infertility and the treatment thereof, so that more individuals can have access to this. Because it's a shame that for so many, and we could talk about this with tons of different, medical conditions, that the finances are what keep people from seeking the treatment.
Absolutely. And what we've seen, especially this past year with COVID, a lot of the fertility clinics were kind of slowing down. I mean, obviously They picked back up a little bit more now in this new year, but they slowed all the way down. And, some people were kind of in the middle of a cycle and it got canceled. And then, they've spent all this money, and then, they're devastated that they're going to have to go, through the whole process again. So I'm happy that you mentioned that, we all still need to just share our experiences, because ultimately that's what's going to free others to really talk about it. And then really, now thank God we have a new administration, so we can.
Right. Well, back kind of the March, April timeframe when we were everything was shutting down, like you said, there were many conversations, several evenings that I was listening in on from various reproductive endocrinologists in the American Society of Reproductive Medicine, ASRM. What are those guidelines? And, there was a lot of arguments on both sides of, is infertility an elective medical treatment? And for so many, it is not elective, just like someone who has cancer can't forego their chemotherapy or infusion treatments. And much like someone who is on dialysis can't forego going to a dialysis center 3 times a week, the same type of access needed to happen for those couples and individuals who are seeking IVF of treatment and in the middle of cycles, like you said. So we saw that impact in March and in April, and then as clinics started to reopen, May and June, we saw an increase in the number of intended parents that we were working with. And, we pondered about why that was. Why are we seeing an increase in individuals seeking donor egg? And it was multi-pronged. You have individuals who are seeking donor egg, who are already seeking donor egg, but now they're moving towards frozen donor eggs because they can't find what we call a fresh donor, someone that's going to go into cycle at the same time the intended parent is going into, and the recipient is going into cycle. They couldn't find those individuals. So there's an ease and convenience factor with using frozen donor egg because the eggs are already retrieved. They've already been cleared. They already are FDA compliant and they're ready to go. So there was that piece of it. And then the other piece of it that I really believe was probably even more so a factor is COVID caused us all to stop and reprioritize. The things that the things that we thought we had time to do, we're now realizing, oh my goodness, I've just witnessed a loved one pass away, or I have a friend of a friend who passed away, and time waits for no one. So I better do this now. And so you saw that type of push, and people now saying, gosh, if I want to build my family, I better do it now. And then you had the other piece where, but I don't know financially where I'm going to be. Is my job secure? Am I going to have a job in 1 month or 2 months? So all of those things we saw in kind of that May to June timeframe. And, we adjusted and kept moving and have been pleased to be able to assist as many individuals as we have been able to build their family. That's one thing. As when I was overseeing the client relations team, I tried to remind them of that, while we have goals, businesses have goals, right? That each of those cohort sales, every time that happens, that is another opportunity for someone to build their family. And there's not too many people that have the honor of being part of something like that.
Absolutely. And I also would dare say that, especially when it comes to eggs, the fact that they were already frozen, already tested, and, COVID was even out of the question for a lot of the frozen donor eggs, that also probably was another factor too. It's like, well, I need to move forward with this for a lot of the increase that you all saw. So I'm happy that you all are looking into that and really studying exactly what happened, as a result of COVID-19 and where we are in the pandemic. So I would love for you to talk to us about just how using donor eggs work for folks who may be single. A big, huge boom right now, especially, I don't know if you've heard of this app. It's a new app called Clubhouse. I've seen a lot of conversations up there about talking about people who are being single mothers by choice. They are
by choice.
They are, moving forward with single motherhood, or just motherhood as a single person. That's how I like to phrase it. Motherhood as a single person. And, for those who may have had infertility challenges, may have to use some form of a donor egg. So can you talk to us about that? Have you all done dug a little? Have you seen more single people come in to want to become mothers?
So we see it all. I'll be completely honest with you. We see, like you said, motherhood, single motherhood by choice. We see single fatherhood. We see heterosexual married couples, heterosexual committed couples, homosexual couples, same-sex marriages. We see it all. And we welcome each opportunity to assist anyone who wants to build their family and whatever that family structure looks like. While I would say it's probably, more rare to see a single woman, it doesn't mean that we haven't helped those individuals. Oftentimes you may see individuals who are, single women seeking to grow their families are seeking frozen donor sperm. So our sibling company, Fairfax Eggbank, I would suspect probably works more with those individuals than we do, but we certainly do. And it is, we certainly have had the opportunity to assist intended parents that are using what we call donor-donor. So they're utilizing donor egg and donor sperm. And either the female of the partnership or the single female is the intended recipient and intends to carry the child and the pregnancy, or they're utilizing gestational carrier. So we see all of it, and our goal is to just assist those individuals with finding their ideal donor to build their family. I think the most important thing is to find someone who you can have a transparent conversation with your journey. I would hasten to say that many individuals that we work with do so in silence. So, some of them have shared with their families and friends that this is their journey. Some of them have not. Some of them do not intend to share that at all. That is an absolute personal decision as to how open and transparent you would like to be about your journey. And know that you're not alone. I was looking at statistics, and, nearly 10,000 women each year are giving birth through the utilization of donor egg. One other thing that I want to encourage your listeners is to also know that you are that parent's child, that while this child may not have the genetic makeup of you, the woman, because you're using donor egg, that is your child. And so one of our intended parents said, and it was so fitting, that if you think about a child as a picture, the genetic makeup is simply the outline of that picture, but you, the parent, get to fill it in. You get to color it in and make that child the wonderful person that they will grow to be. So that's certainly something that I would encourage everyone to know, is that absolutely is your child. And that, it's natural to want to choose someone that has characteristics that you possess or that you desire. But what's most important is that connection that you have with that donor. So spend time on Fairfax Eggbank's website. Look at all of the donors. Look at all of the pictures of every single donor that we have there until you find that connection. And when you find that connection, then that's likely the ideal donor for you. And, again, that is your child, even though the child will have, a genetic connection to someone that's outside of your family.
Well, thank you so much again, Teri, for being a part of this and really championing what you do at Fairfax Eggbank. I would love for you to drop where people can learn more about what you all do, and definitely keep it in mind if they are navigating choosing donor eggs.
Absolutely. So you can visit our website, fairfaxeggbank.com. And there you'll have a lot of information about utilizing donor egg. Again, you can search for donors. You can also do a search on our website for affiliated clinic partners in your area by zip code. So our website is very easy to navigate, not only on desktop, but also the mobile version of the app. We are active on social media, so please do search for us on Facebook and on Twitter. And on Instagram as well. We share lots of blog posts from intended parents and from reproductive endocrinologists about this process. And, again, the most important thing is to know that you simply are not alone in this journey. And the more we talk about it, the more we hope to continue to remove stigmas and just make infertility and this journey a natural part of everyone's journey to parenthood.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time today.
Absolutely. It was an honor, and I really appreciated this conversation.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. There are so many ways to connect with the Sisters-in-Loss community. Join our monthly support group, our Sisters-in-Loss Healing Collective at sistersinlosshealing.com. Join our free Facebook group at sistersinloss.com/community, or text sisters to 797979 to download your free Journal to Healing ebook. That is sisters to 797979 to download your free Journal to Healing ebook. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Sisters in Loss, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Yeah, girl, we on YouTube at Sisters in Loss TV. We love you for listening. Keep the faith. Until next time, this is Erica, and I'll talk to you soon.